I'm not crazy, crazy. You remain my power, my pleasure, my pain. Fly right into the future. I'm not crazy, not crazy, not crazy. Baby, I can pay you to a kiss from a rose.
Seal fooled all of us. For years, we thought he was the definition of success. The iconic voice behind timeless love songs, the doting husband to a supermodel, the global superstar who had it all. But what if I told you the real story was nothing like the fairy tale we were sold? Behind that velvet voice and the red carpet smiles, Seal was fighting brutal health battles, struggling through bitter financial rumors, surviving a messy behind-the-scenes divorce, and slowly slipping into isolation, far from the spotlight that once crowned him king. And here's the real kicker. Seal didn't just fade away quietly. Some say he was forced into the shadows by an industry and a life that took more than it ever gave him. Today, we're peeling back the layers on one of music's most misunderstood stars. The scars weren't just on his face, they were everywhere. And once you see what Seal's really been hiding, you'll never hear Kiss from a Rose the same way again. Let's get into it. Let's be real. Seal had us all fooled. The red carpets, the designer suits, the Grammys, the voice that made grown people cry in their cars. And of course, the picture-perfect marriage to the Heidi Klum. At one point, they were Hollywood's power couple, the type that renewed their vows every year just to rub it in. People were obsessed. Relationship goals, they said. Black king and German queen, they said. From the outside, Seal looked like he cracked the code. Poor kid from London to global icon, 4 beautiful kids, supermodel wife, and one of the most recognizable voices in modern music. He had the look, the sound, the brand, the mystery. He wasn't just successful, he was elegant about it, quiet, refined, untouchable. But here's the twist no one saw coming. Everything about Seal's image was built on the idea that he was unbothered, unstoppable. And it wasn't true. Underneath all that poise was a man battling everything: illness, isolation, emotional chaos, and an industry that didn't know what to do with him once the hits slowed down. That calm, cool exterior, it was armor, because fame didn't fix Seal's problems. It just gave him better clothes to hide them in. And the wildest part, he let us believe it. He let the world paint him as a success story because the alternative, telling the truth, would have meant admitting just how broken things were behind the curtain. But today, we're pulling that curtain all the way back. Because once you see what Seal was really dealing with behind the fame, the Grammys and Vogue covers start to feel like smoke and mirrors. See, everybody loves the struggle to success story, but nobody talks about what happens after you make it. For Seal, making it big didn't heal the wounds. It made them deeper. From the very start of his career, Seal was already carrying scars, literally and emotionally. His lupus diagnosis didn't just leave marks on his face. It attacked his confidence, his energy, his mental health. Imagine stepping into the spotlight knowing millions are staring, not just at your talent, but at the reminders of your pain, stamped across your skin. And yet, somehow, he still rose. But fame, ironically, became another kind of prison. Suddenly, there were expectations. Stay perfect, stay relevant, stay marketable, even when your body is breaking down behind the scenes. Add in the brutal realities of the music industry, the cutthroat contracts, the endless hustle, the "what have you done for me lately" attitude, and you realize fame didn't save Seal. Fame nearly crushed him. He once said in an interview that despite the glitz and Grammys, there were nights he felt more alone than ever, surrounded by millions, but isolated inside. And looking back now, it's clear Seal wasn't living the dream. He was surviving it. And once his perfect life started crumbling in public, things only got worse. Let's talk about the real Seal and Heidi Klum story. Not the airbrushed fairy tale the magazines were selling. For years, they were Hollywood's golden couple. Matching outfits, annual vow renewals, red carpet PDA that made people sick with jealousy. But behind the scenes, it wasn't hearts and roses. It was control, conflict, and 2 people silently pulling in opposite directions. Seal and Heidi looked like they had it all, until suddenly, they didn't. 7 years in, it imploded. Fast. Divorce. Irreconcilable differences. The usual PR fluff. But the rumors? Oh, they were loud. Some insiders claimed Seal had a temper. Others whispered Heidi had already mentally checked out before the divorce papers were filed. And while both kept things classy publicly, it's clear the co-parenting hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. Seals hinted in interviews that being a dad post-divorce wasn't just emotionally draining, it was confusing, frustrating, and lonely. He said things like, "You have to be a team." But if you read between the lines, he was trying to make it work with someone who wasn't on the same page anymore. And while Heidi quickly moved on, high-profile relationships, new marriage, red carpet glow-ups, Seal stayed single, quiet, guarded, maybe even a little broken. Even now, the dynamic feels distant. He's deeply committed to his kids, sure, but you can feel the tension in how he talks about it. Seal doesn't trash Heidi, but you can hear it in his voice. That fatherhood came with way more battles than birthdays. The perfect family image? Yeah, that was for the cameras. The real story was a slow-motion breakup dressed in designer clothes. And just when people thought he'd bounce back, Seal hit a new wall. So let's talk about the one thing nobody wants to admit about aging celebrities. The money doesn't always last. Sure, Seal sold over 30 million records. Sure, he had Grammy Awards, international tours, and a residency in every A-list music hall. But ask yourself this. When was the last time you saw Seal headlining anything major? That silence, it costs money. The pandemic slammed touring income. The one lifeline for legacy artists still cashing checks. And Seal? He's never been Mr. TikTok virality or Mr. streaming era strategy. He didn't pivot. He didn't adapt. He disappeared, right when artists had to reinvent themselves just to survive. And unlike pop stars with brand deals, fashion lines, or TV gigs, Seal kept things classic. But classic doesn't pay like it used to. There were whispers, nothing confirmed, but they came from inside the industry. Unpaid management fees, touring cuts, gaps in appearances. Even fans noticed the absence. Where's the new album? Where's the tour? Why isn't he everywhere like he used to be? And look, it's not that Seal's broke. Let's not be dramatic. But the lack of presence does spark speculation, especially when you've been famous this long. And then suddenly, you're not. Even his last real album, Standards, a covers album, a tribute to Sinatra and classics, it was safe, nostalgic, but it wasn't groundbreaking, and it definitely wasn't the comeback moment fans were hoping for. Some called it timeless, others called it tired. Either way, it didn't hit. And let's be real. In today's industry, if you're not going viral, you're going invisible, and Seal unfortunately chose the latter. Now here's where things get real. Because fame might fade, but pain, that sticks around. And for Seal, the physical and emotional wear and tear didn't just show up overnight. It's been a slow, silent breakdown, hiding in plain sight. Let's not forget, Seal has lupus, not the mild kind. Discoid lupus erythematosus, a chronic condition that attacks your skin, your immune system, and your energy like a full-time job. It's what left those iconic scars on his face. But it did a lot more damage behind the scenes. Fatigue, inflammation, joint pain, emotional lows. He's been battling this since his 20s, and aging only makes it harder. So while fans were wondering why Seal wasn't pumping out hits or doing tours like he used to, the truth? His body just couldn't take it anymore. And don't get it twisted, the man still gives powerhouse performances when he shows up. But after every concert, he's wiped, not tired, depleted. Because for someone living with a disease like lupus, the spotlight isn't just draining, it's punishing. And that isolation we talked about earlier, it's not just emotional, it's practical. Seal isn't doing red carpets, he's not on social media every day, he's not posting thirst traps or live streaming from his house like everyone else. He's gone quiet. And when someone that famous goes this silent, people start asking questions, some of them ugly. Is he sick? Is he struggling? Is he done? And because Seal rarely gives interviews anymore, the mystery just gets deeper. He's hinted that he values privacy, peace, quiet. But let's be honest, it also sounds like he's pulling back because he has to, not just because he wants to. There's a big difference between choosing solitude and being pushed into it by pain, exhaustion, or life catching up. And for Seal, it seems like it's all of the above. So here's the question that's been circling for years now. Is Seal planning a comeback? Or has he quietly quit the game without telling anyone? Because every now and then, just enough to keep fans guessing, he reappears. A private gig here, a surprise feature there. Maybe a charity performance that reminds everyone, yep, that voice still hits. But there's no tour, no new original album since 2017, no viral comeback moment, just radio silence with occasional echoes. And when he does show up, he looks different, older, calmer, tired, but present. He's no longer chasing chart-topping singles. He's not trying to prove anything. If anything, it feels like he's finally done trying to keep up with an industry that chews up artists and spits them out with a polite legend label. And here's the tea. Seal might not be trying to come back at all, because what if he's already said everything he needed to say? What if he doesn't need the applause anymore? But then again, legends don't just vanish. And for fans still holding out hope, that sliver of a return is always on the table. A stripped-down acoustic album? A Netflix docuseries about the real story? A surprise duet that goes viral? It's all possible. But don't hold your breath, because Seal seems to be done with the noise. No announcement, no farewell tour, no big dramatic exit, just a slow, quiet walk off stage, one foot still barely in the spotlight. So where is Seal now? Financially, emotionally, and professionally? Let's talk numbers first. Estimates place his net worth somewhere around $40 million, give or take. Not broke by any means, but don't get it twisted. That's not Beyoncé money. And it's definitely not I can vanish forever money when you factor in divorce settlements, 4 kids, decades of lifestyle upkeep, and a career that's been mostly quiet for the better part of a decade. And let's be honest, the money flow ain't what it used to be. The streaming era doesn't pay like CD sales did. Touring was hit hard by the pandemic, and Seal's not doing brand deals, reality shows, or launching skincare lines like some of his peers. But despite the slowdown, he's not desperate. He's still doing select performances, licensing music, and has loyal fans worldwide who'll pay top dollar to hear Kiss from a Rose in person. He's playing chess, not checkers, but the board's smaller now. As for his personal life, Seal's flying under the radar, and that's exactly how he likes it. No public relationships, no scandalous headlines, no scene partying in Ibiza photos. He's focused on his kids, on his health, and honestly, on protecting what little peace he has left. He's talked about valuing solitude, and while fans might see that as him being MIA, it's more like Seal finally stopped trying to impress people who never really cared. He's not chasing hits anymore. He's not chasing validation. He's chasing peace, and after everything he's survived, that might be the biggest win of all. So yeah, the fairy tale's long over, but the man behind the myth, still standing, still healing, still Seal. So now that the spotlight's dimmed, what do we really remember Seal for? Is it the fairy tale love story that fell apart behind closed doors? Is it the music industry mystery of a man who once ruled the charts, only to vanish without warning? Or is it that voice, the one that could break your heart and heal it in the same breath? Seal didn't fade because he failed. He faded because he got tired of pretending everything was perfect. He got tired of playing the game, and maybe, just maybe, he finally decided to choose himself over the fame. He didn't sell out for TikTok numbers. He didn't hop on gimmicks to stay relevant. He didn't fight to stay in a race he no longer cared to win. Instead, he walked away. Scarred, exhausted, but intact, and for an industry that eats its own, that might be the most powerful ending of all. Seal's story isn't over, but it's no longer being told in sold-out arenas or top 40 charts. Now it's written in the quiet moments, raising his kids, protecting his peace, and singing only when he feels like it. And maybe that's the real legacy. You can survive the machine. You just have to know when to stop singing for everyone else and start living for yourself.